Hello, and welcome to Growing Your Mindset with Adam Diaz and Justin Hogue. It's your time in the gym, Monday morning, Motivation Monday. And actually, we're going to change things up a little bit today. It's going to be motivation, or maybe movie motivation Monday, or Monday. We're going to talk about Rocky, and I think that's so dope. Yo.
Yes.
Relax, kid. Mickey loves you. So we're gonna explore mindset stuff in Rocky. So take us away, brother.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Mom. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend this past week. I know it's Monday. We're ready to get motivated, get rocking and rolling, and really crush our week, get all those goals accomplished that we are trying to do, and get 1% better every day. And today, we're in Motivation Monday. We're going to be drawing some motivation from not a normal source, but a normal source, right? When you think of like ultimate motivation, what do you think of? You think of the Rockies, you think of the Eye of the Tiger, you think of these kind of things. And I know it may not come across our mind in like a podcast like this, because we're usually talking about, I don't know, we talk about a few movies here and there, but we're usually talking about, real life scenarios, real people. But we have this fictional character here in Rocky Balboa that millions over the decades have really drawn inspiration from and motivation from.
Well, one of the things that I thought was really cool about this subject is because we talk a lot about visualization or manifestation and the idea that we see something in our minds and we make it reality. How often, when you were a kid, maybe you didn't, but I sure know I did. I'd throw in the Rocky soundtrack for working out. I'd throw on the Rocky soundtrack for exercising. I mean, you're not going to throw, I mean, as great as Chariots of Fire was, and it was about athletics. When I'm running, dun 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 dun, just makes me want to run in slow motion. But if I'm going to run fast, if I'm going to run hard, it's going to be the Rocky theme.
Yeah,
Um,
for
so,
sure.
and there's something about taking that, that story, because that story is so impactful, and then overlaying it with your own experience, when you're in a moment, I mean, a montage moment, I mean,
Yeah.
there's times at the end of my no, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm incredibly corny, but there's times at the end of a run or accomplishing something where, Drago, or right. So that movie is impactful in so many ways, because it,
It
it
is.
gets us to visualize a scenario, and allows us to take and go, okay, you know what, I'm going to work out, how, like a champion, or I'm gonna focus like a champion. It kind of reminds me of what I used to do as a kid. I'm a super raider, and just go after my goals. So yeah, that trick, for the subconscious, because our minds, our subconscious mind, doesn't know the difference between really vivid imagination and reality.
And and the really cool thing about this, I love that you bring this idea up, that it doesn't matter if it is reality or if it is fiction, in the sense of those things can still motivate us, because it's not the actual, the thing, it's the thought of it. It's the thought of it, right? It's the initiation that all of that takes. And for me, I remember as a teen, I was a wrestler. And so the Rocky theme, the Rocky soundtrack, this kind of thing was a normal thing for us. And I remember even, I don't recommend anybody doing this, but I used to try to drink the raw eggs, like Rocky, and you know, and I've got him down a couple times. Don't do that one though. That one. I think there's better ways to get your protein in. But
Well,
this
just
idea,
make sure they're grass, farm or grass
grass
raised,
fed,
free
free
range, organic. You'll be okay. Yeah.
yeah, but this idea of taking um a story, a fictitious person, and just weaving in all of this reality, because the Rocky story, that's why we can take it, we can overlay it on our own, just like you said, and we can envision ourselves being the Rocky, envision ourselves, whatever, each movie, there was a different hurdle, a different obstacle to overcome. And but every time Rocky had to dig deep, right? He had to dig deep. He had to push himself to the limits. And it's so inspiring to see this, because we have to do this in our own lives, on a daily basis, that we have to dig deep and like really give it all we have. And I love the idea of how Rocky was just a regular guy. He wasn't necessarily that talented. He was kind of over the hill and in his prime, the peak of things. And he was still able to surround himself with the right people, have this this inkling, because he didn't think it was a possibility until it was, okay, this may be a possibility, and then he just gave it all he had. Such an inspiring story.
Right. Now, I mean, obviously, the fictional setup of the story where, the champion of the world, last minute has a cancellation and has to, replace the fight card with a novelty that will, still sell tickets. And as a true showman, the character Apollo Creed, goes after this underdog, the Italian Stallion,
Yeah.
to fight in Philadelphia on, I don't remember what day. I think was it St. Patty's Day, or it was some holiday that they were going to be fighting on, for the movie. And I mean, it's not necessarily going to teach us a trick or a tip for, proper vibration, or making sure, things happen for us in the direction that we want. But at the same time, it makes for a great story. And then, of course, watching this guy with the no quit, attitude, you knock him down, and even though he's wobbly when he gets back up, he just keeps getting back up.
Yeah.
That scene where he's knocked down, the fight is almost over, and he gets back up, barely standing, but Apollo looks over and he's like, "Oh crap." I mean, he doesn't say it, but you can see it. I mean, the actor Carl Weathers does such a great job of just being like, "Oh my goodness. I thought this was done. We have to keep going." I mean, I don't know if everybody here remembers, but he doesn't win the fight in the first movie.
Yeah.
In the first movie, it's a loss. It's a loss by decision. It's a narrow loss, and sorry for the spoiler if you haven't seen the Rocky movies, but I mean, Academy Award-winning movie from back. I think it came out, a few years after I was born. So, I mean, we're talking about a movie that's been around for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we're looking at his stick to itiveness, right? This endurance, this persistence that he had. Yeah. So when you had let me know you wanted to do Rocky, I went and watched one of the Rocky movies this weekend, and Rocky 3. And so in the beginning of Rocky 3, if you don't remember, for everyone viewing, that it picks up at the end of Rocky 2, where the rematch was happening. And so the scene is they're both slugging each other, Rocky and Apollo Creed, and then they both fall at the same time, and so they're both getting counted out, and Rocky just is able to climb up, and Apollo just slumps back down, and he wins the championship. And it was because of that consistent action, right, over the other two movies. Like they built up to this scene, right? Because and we say over the other two movies, but if we look at Rocky as an actual realistic character, this is his persona. That he is not going to stop, and you're going to have to kill him to get him to stop. And this is how he was going, and he was able just to go a little bit farther, and I think he was able to take the mental edge from Apollo.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And I mean, he had significant plot armor, no doubt,
Yeah.
but uh,
Plot armor, I like
but
that.
but I mean, but the amazing thing is that we still are inspired by it, because
Yeah.
and that's the power of story. story is so powerful because it can, even if we know that it's completely fictional, even if we know, I mean, how many times have you, especially in this day of binge watching shows, right? How many times do you get the end of a show, if you've binge watched one, and you're like, you've got this real sense of loss because you have a relationship now with all these
Yeah.
characters that you're done. To see them again, you're going to have to go back and rewatch old
Yeah.
things. And so there's even though they're not, um, Ross and Rachel are not real people and Friends isn't real life, you're gonna miss your friends, right?
Yeah. Right. Right. And it's really cool that stories can do this for us, and stories can help us to learn lessons, and they can, I guess, connect with us and resonate with us in a much higher level than saying all you got to do is, stick to it and be persistent, and you're going to be okay. Yeah, that's all and well. We all know that, right? Yeah, that's, we all can say those things. We all say those things to people, but to see it play out, because I think this is where the disconnect happens a lot of times for me when I'm trying to learn something new. It's kind of hazy, foggy. I don't really, there's a lot of gaps there. I'm not really understanding. But when I see somebody do it, even if it's in a just an example, a fictitious story like this, for instance, but you see it and it's like, now you can put some names to things. Now you can put some emotion to things because now you're laughing with them, you're crying with them, and now it's a little more real. And now, those things that Rocky was doing, now I can see how it can, this is the power of good acting and good storytelling. And one of the things that I love here that Sylvester Stallone is able to do is convey this idea of this strong self-belief in Rocky. He has a power of belief in himself that is stronger than Apollo. It's stronger than every character that is in the story. And this is such an inspiring thing for us because it's not far-fetched, right? It's something that if you believe in yourself strong enough, like these things can actually happen.
Yeah, and I mean, Rocky is based upon a true story. I don't remember the boxer's name, but they actually made a movie, um, about that whole scenario. The guy who was the inspiration for Sly Stallone's Rocky movie. I don't know if maybe not a lot of people know this, but Rocky wrote, uh, and produced. I mean, he sold the Fonzie and his brothers own the whole franchise. Yes, Henry Winkler, the Fonz from the Happy Days show, him and his family own the whole franchise. But the reason that Stallone sold it to them was so that he could act and be the main character in them. So he was just so in real life, that's how Sylvester Stallone gets his start. He's pretty much really before this unknown actor in Hollywood. He's not, this this Academy Award winning, Oscar winning screenwriter and actor, that he is today. No, back then he's just a starving actor who's trying to get his shot, and so there's a lot of similarities in the history of this movie franchise, and the storyline. I mean,
Yeah.
you can see this young man Stallone, who's now Stallone, just clawing his way into an industry that is so hard to get into, and then to basically create his reality, right? Because I mean, he not only creates the role that is going to launch his career and make him an Academy Award winner, but um, you know, he he does it, what, six times now, plus a spin-off franchise. I
Yeah.
think the Creed movies are in their third. So I mean, there's something that we like about the underdog story, something that keeps us coming back, and I think that it is that idea that we can overcome if we don't give up.
Yeah, and I like this idea of this underdog, the underdog story, because when we're looking at um this like the David and Goliaths of the world. You know, we always want to root for the underdog who is, you know, because I think we see it in ourselves. And I really like this idea of how Stallone, you know, this was his break, right? This was his break, just like Rocky. Rocky was just waiting. Rocky was waiting for his big break, and when the opportunity came, he seized it. And you know, very similar to the actual story, which is why story is so wonderful. And when people can do it well, it's weaving reality. It's like weaving these people's actual experiences into these stories and making them just a little bit more larger than life, or you're emphasizing certain parts of it that really highlight the inspirational and motivational aspects of these journeys, which can help us because a lot of times our lives, you know, if you just take an assessment, a lot of it is just drudgery. You know, it's just the same things every day, you know, eat, sleep, you know, this kind of thing. But the things that are in between, those really, those peaks and valleys are the benchmarks that mark the time.
You know, and that's interesting. The way that the way that the story's crafted in the idea of this Rocky character. I mean, in one sense, he's just waiting. But in another sense, this whole thing that happens to him becomes the catalyst. You know how sometimes we talk about how devastating it can be for lottery winners
Yeah.
to win because they're not ready. They're not there. I mean, in the Rocky franchise, you've got this 30-year-old amateur boxer who's such a bum at the beginning of the movie. He shows up to Mickey's gym and finds out that his locker's been given away, his stuff's been stuffed in a bag. Why? Because there's no hope for
Yeah.
this guy to go any further. He's washed up. He's got no career. He's not getting a title fight, and so when fate rolls the dice and it comes up Snake Eyes for this character. I don't know if Snake Eyes is good or bad, so I probably shouldn't use gambling illustrations when I don't know how it works. But still, it's his numbers. I think it's sevens that are good. So
Ah,
either way,
whatever the good one is.
whatever the good one is, it shows up Rocky's number, and he gets picked for this fight, and then he rises to that challenge. And I think that's probably one of the things that's really really inspirational for me is, now don't get me wrong. Now I want to be in the business. My whole life I've been in the business of waiting for that chance to come, and that's not where I want to be anymore. I want to create my opportunities. I want to create my
Yeah.
chances, but there is an element of we have control up to a point in this life. We have to rely on outside forces, outside things. Now it's true that we can, one of the things that we talk about a lot is the view of attraction, and we believe that attracts like, and so you can increase the odds of those things coming to you, but you know what are you going to do when they do come? Are you going to rise
Yeah.
to the challenge? Are you going
Right.
to are you going to find your Mickey, your Yoda, that person who's going to help you make it that extra step? That's one of the reasons why we believe in mentorships and finding mentors. I mean, joining Sub 2 has been huge for both of us,
Yeah.
and for several of the people that watch this show. Um, a- and and then and then making the most of that opportunity when it comes, making sure that it's not squandered. Getting up. I mean, if you'll notice in the montages, the famous Rocky montages, they're all about him. Um, being disciplined and doing the hard work that it takes. I mean, we see it in a sound, in a music montage. And maybe that's detrimental to those who watch it, right? We think that, okay, getting ready for the big fight's easy. Let's throw on some Rocky music and it's going to be about 23 or about 5 minutes of different scenes mushed together with this song in the background, and I'll be good. that's not how reality works, right?
Yeah.
But it shows that he gets ready. He goes through and he does the hard work. He gets up at, the early hours in the morning. He drinks a bunch of raw eggs. He chases chickens so that he can get greasy lightning speed. It's been years. I probably blew the lines, but
I forgot the
you know,
chicken scene.
yeah. You've got to put in the work if you're
Yeah,
going to get the
yeah,
results, and
and
if you're going to rise to the challenge. The opportunity is going to come for you. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Opportunities are constantly coming to us.
yeah.
Sometimes we let them pass right by. Sometimes we seize them. When we seize them, though, are we going to rise to the challenge?
And this brings to memory a quote: "When the student is ready, the teacher will appear."
Mm.
And you mentioned Yoda and Mickey, and even Apollo in the later movies. We have these mentors. We have these people that when they were there all along, right? Mickey was there all along to train Rocky, but he wasn't ready. And so when he became ready, when he started preparing, like the opportunities, um, I don't think that they weren't there, but he's not able to, he's not able to capitalize on them. And so we have to be ready for those things. Just like when the opportunity did come for Rocky in every movie, he did rise to those occasions because he was willing to put in the work. I think that's one of the things that if we saw him as a realistic person and he understood the difficulty of the work, he knew it was going to be work, and he was willing to do it. And I think that was the difference that separates him from the rest, because he was washed up. He was at the end of end of his career, but he knew how much work it would take to become a champion. All he needed was that shot. And so when the opportunity did come, he was willing to put in the work.
Yeah, well, and I think that what's demonstrated is that what it would take was a wholesale commitment, buying in completely. This became his only thing. It well, yet he still manages to juggle in, the relationship with Adrian and whatnot. But and those relationships, that's another important mindset principle,
Mm,
right? Is that campfire, those people that we
yeah.
surround ourselves with, and he has to overcome some not so positive relationships too, right? Like, you know,
Wally.
uh, Paulie makes it through the entire up until he's in Balboa. He makes it longer than Adrian. So and yet he's just this horribly negative character, right? I mean, even though you grow to appreciate the character, he's incredibly negative.
And I
Um,
really love how the contrast, though, because we see
right.
this character in here, but Rocky is always, hey, look at the bright side. He's always showing him his perspective. And he comes around every once in a while. He'll have to, he sees it, but it's really interesting to see that contrast there.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Rocky 3, which you just watched yesterday, that's one where they really dive more into the character of Paulie than we
Yeah,
see. And we don't see him very much in Rocky 2. In Rocky 1, he's got a pretty significant role as the jerk brother. But in 3, there's that whole scene where he's being bailed out of jail, and
yeah,
he's at his breaking point. He's going to spill out all of this bitterness and jealousy and ingratitude, and Rocky's character, has to talk to him and pretty much go, "Whoa, dude, everything you have, I've given you." So you see this contrast between gratitude and ingratitude, and then um, um, you've got this Rocky then losing the fight to Clubber, to Mr. T's character, and crashing down, and and you've got that great contrast,
yeah.
because instead of being entitled, instead of complaining, instead of acting the way that Paulie's character would act, he rises again to the occasion.
Yeah. And going back to that scene you just mentioned, because it's fresh in my mind. I just watched it and I thought how masterful of a scene it was because of the wisdom that Rocky's character portrays in here. Um, because Paulie is drunk, he's coming out of jail, and he starts swinging at this champion boxer. This short, middle-aged guy. He's swinging at the heavyweight champ of the world, and I think for most people, like matching emotions and reacting to how they react is going to be the way, and we're going to start fighting back. Rocky doesn't do that though. Rocky absorbs these things. He's blocking, he's parrying, and he's like, "Yo, what's going on?" And he's like so even keel the whole interaction, this altercation that happens, and even when Paulie's getting jealous, and he's like, "You have all the stuff, and I got nothing." He's like, all you had to do was ask, like, because he asked it at the end. He's like, "Can I have a job?" After he cools down, he's like, all of it sucked out of him, because he was able to take it all, right? Rocky takes it all, and he's like, "Yeah, of course you can. All you had to do is ask." And he took this thing that could have been a relationship ending incident because of one side, right? Rocky didn't want that, but Paulie pushed him. And how many times have we severed a relationship because someone shoved us in a low moment in their life, and then we don't have that person in our lives anymore, good, bad, or indifferent, And I think how Rocky acted in there and won back his friend and his brother, right? Because this was his brother-in-law. He won him back and he saved him from destruction. He was going down a bad path. And Rocky didn't have to do that. Rocky could have went a lot of different ways, but the wisdom that he portrayed in there was just very inspiring.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's so important to look at. How many, I love how you brought that up. How many relationships have been lost because instead of being prepared to be to I mean, in that moment, he becomes Paulie's Yoda, right? He
Yeah.
becomes you know, Paulie's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it is a masterful thing, and yet there's so many times, right? Instead of being able to be, uh, um, the word that I'm looking for is principle driven
Yeah.
rather than reactionary.
Hmm.
It's a great demonstration, even though it's fictional. It's a great demonstration of that.
Yeah, yeah. But where do all these fictional stories come from, right? It comes from somebody's life experience, something like that. And so even though these things are fictitious, we can't just write them off. Oh, that's just somebody's make-believe imagination, because these things come from somewhere. And when we see wisdom, when we see people with high emotional intelligence, whether it's just an actor or whether it's a story, whatever it is, like these things, we can learn from them. We can benefit greatly from them. And so Justin, man, thank you so much for bringing Rocky to the forefront of our mind, because this one
You
we
ain't
usually
good.
think of when we're trying to work out, right? When we got to go jogging, or we do some physical activity, and we really don't think of Rocky as like someone to draw like mindset inspiration from. But what a phenomenal, iconic character for that.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that I find fascinating about the use of story, and I think this is going to be a regular Monday thing where we talk about on the motivational Mondays, we talk about a different movie, something, a movie or book or story, but something from fiction that inspires us, motivates us to to be the best version of ourselves that we can be, and to look at those principles and be like, okay, yeah, this is this is an important lesson that I can learn from a medium that is so powerful, right? I mean, this
Yeah,
is and really one of the things that woke me up to this concept. I was talking with Marlon Johnson a while back, and I was kind of being melancholy about the fact of how much my kids loves their screen time, right? And my middle son Peter, he's like super into anime
yeah,
and whatnot, and Marlon's like, "Oh, I know that anime and that one and that one," and he's really into all these things, And and then he started telling me about all of the mindset concepts that are in these shows and how they actually helped form him. Now, if you know who
Yeah.
Marlon Johnson is, and I'm sure a great many of our audience does, um, you know, he is a mastermind, or he is a mindset guy. In fact, that's his moniker, Mindset Marlin. Um, so that was pretty powerful for me. And so then I watched a few with my boys after that, you know, and it was tough because it's not a genre of viewing that I care for. But once I saw it, it was like, oh, wow. You know, there's all these concepts being reinforced over and over and over again. That is neat. You know, what else can we learn from fiction?
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
These are things that skillful artists have poured their life's work and their passion into, and they most of it, like especially the things that are quality that have stood the test of time that we're talking about, you know, we can draw so much inspiration from them. So speaking of drawing some inspiration, let's hop on these affirmations.
Let's go.
All right,
Let's
because
go.
I am committed to my growth.
You know what, Adam? I am committed to my growth.
I am loved, appreciated, blessed, and highly favored.
I am loved, appreciated, blessed, and highly favored.
Challenges are opportunities for me to improve.
Challenges are opportunities for me to improve.
Every day I am getting better and better.
Every day I'm getting better and better.
I am my best investment.
I am my best investment.
Life happens for me. Everything is for my growth and benefit.
Life happens for me. Everything is for my growth and benefit.
I am an action taker.
I am an action taker.
I am committed to being the most positive person that I know.
I am committed to being the most positive person that I know.
I am a fixer. I am somebody's answer. When you get me, you get everything that I'm connected to.
I'm a fixer. I'm somebody's answer. When you get me, you get everything I'm connected to.
I am healthy, wealthy, and wise.
You know what, Adam? I am healthy, wealthy, and wise. Let's
Let's
go.
go.
All right, you guys, have a crunchy, creamy, chewy Monday. It is going to be an amazing week. Looking forward to seeing you guys and going through all the fun topics that we're going to have for this week. Um, you know, it's going to be an interesting week for us and the Hoke family. We're sending my 15-year-old, who will be 15 tomorrow. Tomorrow's his 15th birthday. We're sending him to grandma's house for about a month in the summer. So he's got to fly by himself for the first time. So I'm a little nervous about that. And I can't say where because I don't know how his
All
mom
right, let's
feels,
go,
but
Joshua. Yeah.
so hopefully I trust he will handle it like a champion, flying alone. So, um, you know, keep us in your thoughts and prayer for that. And then,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's gonna be a good experience for
It will.
him and
So I was
for
15
mom.
when I flew the first time alone. Yeah, I was 15, so he'll be good. It'll be a good experience
All
for
right,
him
you're
too.
still here. So
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
so you're only lost
Yes.
for about 3 or 4 weeks, right?
Yeah, it was yeah, mine was great. I spent a month away from my family as well. So that
Oh,
was that
very
was
cool.
pretty amazing. Yeah. But as far as some housekeeping that we have going on, and I know we have been talking about it, Justin and I, we are going to be migrating, kind of simplifying some things to a new YouTube channel. And so that's in the process of being set up right now. We are streaming to it right now. So this is going to both the Grow Giver and Growing Your Mindset YouTube channel. I will, I guess I could drop the link in here for anyone who wants to hop over there and go ahead and subscribe. And so
Oh
we're going
yeah.
to be eventually moving all that over to there. So I don't know exactly how we're going to do everything yet, but I think this will be kind of keep things a little more simplified. We'll have all the previous episodes on there where we can get in and view all those past ones as well.
All right. All right. All right. All right. I think that's everything. So we
That's
will see
it
you
for me.
guys
Tomorrow.
mañana.